1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, okay, so today's just gonna be a very chill stream because it's just a really sad day. Um, it's going to be pretty chill because we have someone that was murdered by the Gestapo yesterday, and I think that is going to be the main focus unless something else goes on. I do also want to talk about what Trump did with the Russia tankers because that's also really important. So that's kind of the plan for today. I This just is a very hard time, and I want anyone to understand that we are going to get through this together, that you're not alone during this. And the goal is right now we have to be united. Now more than ever. I think that's easier said than done. But I think that with what I saw last night with the protests happening right now, the vigils, I have hope. I have hope. So yeah. Just doing my usual live stream kind of I'm live situation. Okay. Yesterday I decided that I needed to do some community action. I've been planning this for a little bit, and that was I went out to one street. I'm still can't walk as far as I would like. And I decided that I was going to create these, I guess, ICE intervention community action type goodie bags. And so that's what I did. I felt that I felt that I needed to do something. I needed to do something action based yesterday. And it had a whistle to let people know when ICE was coming. It had like to know your rights in English and Spanish. So that's what I did yesterday to do self-care in this way because I felt like I needed to do something. I was so uncomfortable with the severe hatred that was spread from the regime and with what happened that I felt obligated to do something. And since this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, I did it. It's just gonna be pretty challenging to get people to understand where things are at. But I think now more than ever, it's very important to get people to understand that we need to be in solidarity. We need to be in a place where we are supporting our community members. So yeah, that's kind of the goal. So I have a few videos from last night. I haven't seen most of these, so we're going to be watching them together because I was editing. But I think it's really important to understand that the Trump regime is doing everything they possibly can to make Renee Good, who is the woman that was murdered, seem like a bad person. And I think that that's terrible. That's really bad. So we are going to humanize her and show that she wasn't a bad person. And I think someone made a very clear, important statement yesterday that I saw. It was like, even bad people shouldn't be killed. I'm not for the death penalty. I don't believe in the death penalty. And that's true. Like, even if this person was doing something bad, even if they were, it still does not mean that ICE has the right to kill them. And broke down a lot of the stream yesterday of the videos. The more that's come out, it's clear as day that it's just like, this never should have happened. And it's clear as day that we don't actually know who this ICE officer is still, which is really frustrating to me, that even now we don't know. And it's like, how do you not know? How can you not release the information? So that's been frustrating. That's been really frustrating. So yeah, I've been very disappointed in how the Democrats have reacted. A lot of them are just like, wait till things come out, wait till we hear things. And it's like, no, I don't really want to wait. I want to know the truth. But also I have eyes and I have ears, and I know that what's happening is not okay. I know that. So I don't know. There's also people like Stephen A. Smith that's decided, oh, let me just make some statements that I know of situations I know nothing about. So that was annoying. So yeah, it's gonna be a very chill but important stream. That's the goal. So I think I'm gonna start from last night. There are protests happening right now. I do have also live stream and throughout the day on that as well. And so, but right now though, I want to show like CNN coverage, because like little clips I've seen, I have issues with when they start the video. I think is very important, because you see something that is very important, and that's her waving ICE officers to go. That's extremely important. Most of the clips that they're showing, that part is out, like the waving, her hand waving, and then stuff like that. So let me OBS. That is not what I wanted to do. So yeah, I think apparently for a lot of people it is, and I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. Okay, so this CNN's coverage was very interesting. Holman had a very interesting response as well, was not expecting that. So let's get into it.
Growing protests tonight in Minneapolis. An ICE agent shot a woman there, witnesses say, in the face as she was in her car. She is dead. He killed her. And you.
Okay, it's like, Aaron, I feel like you've lost your touch. Like, he killed her. Like, can we have some empathy? Like, kids are orphaned. A 37-year-old has been murdered. Like, let's have some empathy. My God.
We're looking at live pictures right now of the streets in Minneapolis. You can see all of those lights. This is a vigil near the site where the shooting took place. Crowds have been growing all night. They are chanting, "Say her name." And we have just learned the victim's name. She is a 37-year-old woman, as we said, and her name is Renee Nicole Good. Renee Nicole Good. She was shot and killed today. And ICE claims that the agent opened fire after Good, quote, weaponized her vehicle in an attempt to kill him, a federal officer. All right, well, there's a lot of video out there, so let's just show you some of it. Here's the video so you can see what actually happened for yourself. We warn you, it is graphic. Renee was killed.
Okay, so here, right here, she's telling, I wish they started it a little sooner, where it shows that she had told the car in front of this ICE officer to go. So there was another car in front that was ICE. She had waved that person by, saying like, hey, go. Okay. Then this guy, this car stopped. This was ICE. You briefly see it.
We warn you, it is graphic.
Right here. Hey, go. Hey, go. And I think those two key parts are very important, because I don't know if she was involved in the protests. I think she may have just been either going or dropping or leaving, because this is her neighborhood. Like, she lives here. And so it's clear she's trying to leave to go somewhere. I don't think she actually was trying to block anything. And so I wonder if, I think when they start the video is very, very important.
Renee was killed, but you see agents approaching the SUV, which is stopped in the middle of the street. They instruct her to get out of the car.
Yeah, like, again, she's not stopping to block them. That's why I think the beginning is so important, because it shows she wasn't trying to block them. It's very clear her left wheel is turned left. It's clear she's trying to turn left. And that's why, like, if you say it appears that she's turning left instead of she's blocking the road, I think that changes a lot of viewpoints, because that's, oh my gosh, Olaf, my cat. It shows that there's a significance in why she's where she is. So that's why I think I should start it earlier.
According to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, then an agent tries to pull the door handle. You can see that part. The driver then puts the car in reverse, which is crucial, and then sort of changing direction is almost to go around. She moves forward again. And that's when the vehicle bumps the ICE agent, who draws his weapon and fires it 3 times.
He was never touched.
Now, Homeland Security Secretary...
He was never touched, and that's what's really frustrating. He was never touched. She never touched him. He was never touched. So I don't know. I've seen it. So many videos, so many freeze frames. He was never touched once.
Kristi Noem calls this an act of domestic terrorism. She says there were 3 others of those today. And President Trump says, claims online that Good violently, willfully, and viciously, this is a quote from him, ran over the ICE officer, adding that it is hard to believe he is alive. All right, now President Trump puts out his own angle of the video to make that point. Let's just show you what he put out there. This is what he's putting out to show the ICE agent's life in danger. You can see, we'll go back and show that to you, that he was bumped by the vehicle. We have video from the moments after the shooting where you do see the agent adjusting his mask as he walks away from the vehicle. So that you can see that there. President Trump says that he was injured, is in the hospital. We have learned that he's been released, which is consistent.
He's perfectly fine because he was never touched. I think also what's really important to know is that he left the scene. And that's very important because there's 2 Supreme Court cases that are constantly being brought up now of when innocent officers leave the scene, that doesn't mean you're innocent anymore. And also it's pretty bad when you leave the scene as an officer. So that in of itself is important. Another thing that I saw, I only saw it on one person's Twitter, so it's not really confirmed, but I want to at least note it, that ICE was trying to get this man out of the state because they were trying to see if the state was going to arrest him. We still don't know his name, which is really fucking annoying that we don't know who this fucking asshole is. And it's like, come on, hackers, come on. We got to know who this guy is.
With him walking away there, adjusting his mask. Now, the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey had this to say about Trump and his administration's account of what happened.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit.
Frey also did not mince words when he
normally they mute, they bleep that, so I'm kind of surprised they didn't.
Delivered a message to ICE.
I have a message for ICE. To ICE.
Sorry. I like moving. There we go.
Get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Now, what happened today is something that Frey spoke about and warned about last night here on the show when he talked about the 2,000 federal agents who were deployed to a city and what ICE said was going to be the largest deployment ever. Here's what Frey said.
This is not about preventing fraud. This is about sowing chaos on the streets of Minneapolis, and that's what they are intent on doing right now.
In a moment, we are going to be joined by a woman who lives on the street where the shooting happened. She was recording as she was pleading with agents to let a doctor check on Renee Good, who was shot.
This is really important because videos, they don't know how to render aid. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They weren't trying to hold anything to the wound. They weren't tending her at all. They kind of looked and left her. And then it was said not only did they not let him, the physician, check her, but it was also said that they didn't allow ambulances to go through because of all the ICE agents. So that's why you see her literally being carried, by one witness's account, quote, like a sack of potatoes. And that was very strange to me. I was like, why don't they just, I was very confused why they didn't just stop and give her CPR out of the car. Where was the stretcher? It was a very chaotic situation that you don't normally see. And it just proves how untrained these men, these Gestapo fucks are.
Medics. Where are they? Where are they? How can I relax? You just killed my neighbor. You caught butter in the face. You killed my neighbor.
All right, we're going to speak to the woman you heard her voice there, the eyewitness, in just a moment. First, I want to go to the ground and Whitney Wild, who is there in Minneapolis tonight. And Whitney, the crowd is growing where you are. What are you seeing? What is the tone right now?
The tone right now is resilience. It is a chance to pay their respects to a woman they did not know who lost her life yards from right where I'm standing. It was right on this block where, as you see in the video, she pulls out and the ICE officer discharges his firearm into the driver's side of the vehicle, and then she careens to the left side of the street and crashes her car. Just yards behind me is exactly where that happened, Aaron. When we walked up there earlier, and you can't see it right now, but there was a growing vigil there. Flowers laid right at the place where she spent her last moments on Earth. It was so striking, Aaron, because it was the first time that the public was getting a chance to actually see it, because this was minutes after the Minneapolis Police Department cleared out. The scene had been processed, and so they left. And the scene was still so fresh that there was blood on the ground. Flowers were surrounding the blood from people who had come to pay their respects to her. And there were fragments of brake light, it looked like, broken among the flowers. It was, like I said, it was incredibly striking. Right now, what you're hearing is chanting. We are hearing over and over this crowd chant her name. We're hearing people speak to the crowd on a bullhorn. This is right now a moment of reflection and a moment of protest. This has turned into a candlelight vigil here, Aaron. I think it is important to remember that we are 4 blocks from where George Floyd was killed. This is Portland Avenue. I'm standing right on Portland Avenue, and East 34th Street is just behind me. And this is a city that's worked really hard to rebuild in the aftermath of that. And multiple people I spoke with today brought up that this is in the aftermath of the George Floyd riots, and that the Minneapolis police have tried to rebuild after that. And what was striking out here earlier, Aaron, was the crowd was so angry, and most of that anger was directed at the Minneapolis Police Department, who had nothing to do with this shooting, but quickly became the target of furor from people who live here and work here, and for many people who saw it, Aaron.
All right, Whitney, thank you very much at that vigil. And, as Whitney's talking about, that anger initially that was directed at the Minneapolis Police Department, which of course was not involved with the shooting. Let's go now to the Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara. And Chief, I appreciate your time. In the context of what Whitney said, how worried are you about lashback, about this anger, about anything getting out of hand or violence in Minneapolis tonight?
Well, I've been very concerned for several weeks, and I've been quite vocal about it. I have been worried not that federal law enforcement activity was happening, but how that enforcement was taking place in the city. And I have specifically said, I've been worried we would have a tragedy in our community. And I would hope that everyone, regardless of their viewpoint, can acknowledge that the loss of a woman's life is tragic. And along with that, things in this city have been very tense for several weeks, and it is a very emotional situation, and it's very divisive and politically charged. So that is why I have been asking all of our elected officials to please ask for peace and ask for calm. And as you mentioned, our police officers responded immediately. I responded immediately to the scene once I heard there was a report of a shooting. But unfortunately, as our officers were trying to leave today and trying to keep the peace, to preserve the crime scene so that there can be an investigation, so that there can be some level of, a finding related to what actually happened, our men and women became the object of hate, vitriol, and just the frustration that has been building in this community for weeks.
So, obviously it's very concerning. And I know in the context of that, what Whitney's talking about, how close this is to actually what happened with George Floyd, right? And what your city went through. But when you talk about politicians, there's different video angles out there now, and that's what we have. It did play out on video. The angle that President Trump is sharing appears to show the agent bumped by the vehicle. And he, of course, is characterized.
He was not bumped.
It as he wrote that the woman driving the car was disorderly, obstructing and resisting, and then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Is that Is that what happened here? Is that the version you see, or is it different?
I would tell you this much. We owe it to this woman, to her family, and to the American public to ensure that an investigation does occur. And that investigation occurs and it follows all of the available evidence to its logical conclusion. That being said, I can also tell you law enforcement in the United States has been training for many years to try and avoid incidents like this whenever possible, to try and avoid having law enforcement officers placed into a situation with an unarmed motorist where they may have to use force. That's why there is an emphasis on proportionality, an emphasis on if you are able to identify a license plate, identify who the person is, follow up afterwards if there is some independent crime that did occur prior to the incident.
Right, and of course, in this case, all that was readily available. We can all see the license plate information. That would have been very easy to do, and then that I'm just stating the facts. Now, President Trump said it's hard to believe he's alive, but he's now recovering in the hospital, referring to the ICE agent. We understand he's been discharged. I'm curious, Chief, though, how you see this, because we're looking at him now as after the incident, walking away. He was adjusting his face mask. After he was bumped, obviously he appears fine there. Do you know anything about him, who he is, whatever happened to him? Obviously he looks fine there. He was bumped. He's out of whatever checkup he had.
There were, at a minimum, dozens and dozens, if maybe not a few hundred, federal law enforcement officers on the scene. I did not speak to anyone. At least none of them told me that they were there when the shooting actually occurred. But I was very specific about asking if anyone else was injured, and at the time I was told that it was only the woman. So I don't know anything further.
Mr. Holman, thank you for doing this.
So CBS with Tony Ducapel, which has been a complete disaster, met with Homan, and it was a very odd interview from little bits I've seen.
Thank you for doing it because it's a busy day. It's also a sad day. We had an incident in Minneapolis.
Let me get up mid louder.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, a woman attempted to weaponize her vehicle. That's a quote. Ram an agent, run over an agent. The department's called it an act of domestic terrorism. Open fire, that woman is dead this evening. Many Americans are watching videos of this incident online, and they're seeing something different than what the department is describing. I'd like to show you one of those videos so you can talk directly to Americans tonight about what they're seeing. Just tell me what you see when you see this. There's the shot. The vehicle veers off, hits a pole or a barrier of some sort, and the woman's dead. When you see that, some Americans respond with, this was not justified, this was not necessary. Tell them, this is really about them. What do you see when you see this video? Well,
look, I just got off an airplane. There's 100 different videos out there, and there may be body cam video. I'm not going to comment on that. This is an ongoing investigation. But I think it's reckless, what I'm seeing on social media. I've seen at least 7 or 8 members of Congress make the comment that ICE just murdered somebody. Murdered.
So he was doing kind of well before he continued speaking. Also, he sounds awful. He sounds rough.
Right? Now, I said back in March, and I'm on numerous programs, when the rhetoric started escalating back in late March, I said, if this rhetoric continues, there will be bloodshed. I've seen this movie before. I've done this for over 40 years. And sadly, I was right. There has been bloodshed. There's been attacks on ICE officers, there have been people killed, even our detainees were killed here in Dallas.
Yeah.
The investigation is ongoing. There's a lot of video, a lot of evidence hasn't been seen yet. I'm not a forensics expert, and neither are the people and members of Congress commenting on this. The auditors hold their judgment. Take a deep breath, hold their judgment, because I think the comments about murder is going to incite what? More violence, more threats, and hopefully not more bloodshed.
And I want to get into that. I want to get into the increase in violence and threats against ICE officers, but I also want to linger for a moment on this incident because it's a really important one. I think the city of Minneapolis is on edge. I think the country is on edge right now. You say the investigation is ongoing.
The investigation just started.
Just started. You say you can't comment on the video, which many Americans are seeing and reacting to.
I'm not going to make a judgment call on one video when there's 100 videos out there. I wasn't on the scene. I'm not an officer that may have body cam video. It'd be unprofessional to comment on what I think happened in that situation. Let the investigation play out and hold people accountable based on the.
So do you think Kristi Noem's unprofessional for calling her a domestic terrorist then? I think that's a fair question.
Investigation.
I think many members of the public are calling for the same thing, and so they're confused. Maybe you can help me understand how the Department of Homeland Security could conclude so swiftly that this is a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, that this woman, quote, weaponized her vehicle. By the very same standard you described, this investigation is just getting started.
That's the question for Homeland Security. I'm the border czar. Well, I can tell you what I've seen on my airplane ride here, looking at numerous videos, seeing numerous social media posts.
You just said you only saw one. Now you're changing your story.
Statements from Homeland Security, statements from Secretary Noem. I'll leave it at that.
But as a law enforcement officer,
what good is it to do right now to me prejudge the facts of what happened today without giving law enforcement professionals, whether it's the FBI or the local police there, give them time to look at all the videos, talk to all the witnesses, talk to the officers, and make an educated decision on what occurred today. That's what needs to happen. I've been a cop since 1984. That is the process we must go through.
The reason I ask you about actions in the interior of the country, even though your title is border czar, is when you were announced, in that announcement, Donald Trump said you would be responsible for all deportations of illegal aliens. So that's the mission there in Minneapolis, right?
That's one of my missions, yes.
Yeah, so this is an incident under your purview.
A tragedy happened today. Sad tragedy. You know, every night when I go to bed, and I've said this 100 times on other interviews, I pray for the safety of the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol. I also pray that nobody dies, including the people we're looking for.
And now,
wait. Fuck them getting hurt. I just don't want them to die. That's chaos.
I don't want to see anybody die.
And now 5 people have died in incidents, 4 immigrants, and now a woman who we don't know what she was doing. Perhaps she was intending harm. Perhaps she was a protester.
Actually, 30 if you involved ICE detention facilities.
We don't know.
Well, let's not forget, ICE agents been shot at too.
Yes.
Okay, but they're not dead.
Assaults against ICE agents over 1,300%.
They're not dead.
I mean, and I will say it again, I've said it 1,000 times. I blame a lot of this on the hateful rhetoric of mayors and governors and some in Congress who, you know, they want to compare ICE to the Nazis and to racists and the Gestapo. ICE is enforcing laws they enacted. ICE isn't making this up. So if a member of Congress saying, ICE, you're enforcing.
ICE did not make NSPM 7. ICE did not make NSPM 7. Trump did an executive order for that. I get what he's trying to pull is like, oh, blame yourselves. We are blaming our Democratic politicians. Don't you worry. But at the same time, Trump is allowing things to happen. We know that Stephen Miller literally told ICE to say, why aren't you going to the Home Depots? Why aren't you going to the parking lots of stores to see and kidnap people there? It's been proven. People said that.
Laws reenacted, you're a racist. They wrote the law.
In the spirit of fairness now, I mean...
You are a racist. You broke the law. Okay, you can still be a racist.
There are people who are angry at ICE because they hear from this administration, members of it, Stephen Miller, sometimes the president himself, what they consider to be racist, inflammatory language against immigrants, against migrants, both illegal and not. Is there not a double standard here?
What racial rhetoric are you talking about from the administration?
I'm not going to litigate comment by comment here. So I'm just saying.
I don't see any racial, right away.
I don't see any racial. Well, calling Mexicans rapists. There you fucking go.
The left wants to pull that. The race card. It has to be racist. ICE isn't doing anything different. They did it for decades. The problem is, the last 4 years, ICE wasn't able to do the job. ICE is out, and the data proves it, even though a lot of the media don't want to talk about accurate data. Nearly 70%, I think it's like 68 point something percent of everybody ICE arrested is a criminal.
Sorry, what percentage?
Just below 70%. I think it's 68.7.
Is a criminal, has a criminal record.
Is a convicted criminal pending criminal charges.
Right, so 30% are not. And so part of the
and
reason...
And who is that 30%? 30%, a lot more national security cases who don't have a criminal history because their whole game is to lay low until they do the dirty deed. A lot more final orders. These are people who had due process at great taxpayer expense, were ordered removed by a federal judge and didn't leave. Yeah. We're looking for them. The message we can't send to the rest of the world is enter the country legally. It's a crime. Don't worry about it. Have due process, show up in court or don't show up in court, get a final order, don't worry about it. If that's the message we send to the whole world, you're never going to fix this problem. What the bottom line is this. President Trump has illegal immigration down 96%, which means 96% less people are now coming.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible, you piece of shit. That's fucking terrible. He looks like a demon right there. He looks like a fucking demon ghoul.
Less women are being sexually assaulted by members of the cartel.
Bitch,
less children.
Trump is literally a pedophile human trafficker. I don't want to hear fucking shit from you.
And the most vulnerable are dying making that journey. Less fentanyl is getting in the country to kill Americans. Sex trafficking women and children have declined increasingly.
I don't want to hear anything about sex trafficking when the fucking president of the United States is a fucking pedophile, human trafficker that's all over the fucking Epstein files, and he's probably one of the 10 co-conspirators that the FBI is fucking protecting. So I don't want to hear shit about you saying, oh, human traffickers, when the president of the United States is probably most likely one, considering he's all over the fucking Epstein files.
So secure borders saving lives. The message we're going to send to the whole world is that there are consequences for violating the laws. And one of the reasons we have the most secure border in the history of this nation is not only because of men and women of Border Patrol is doing what
Mr. Holman, I've been down there.
Doing. But a lot of the reason we have the most secure border in the history of this nation is because ICE operations. They're sending a clear message. There are consequences for violating our laws.
I want to get back to the mission, your effort to make it effective, and the question of safety. Given the situation now in Minneapolis, the level of public anger, the videos that when many Americans see them, they see either unnecessary violence.
He's talking because he likes power. I don't know if this interview was scheduled before the shooting happened or after, so I'm not sure about that. But because he's the border czar and part of Homeland Security, I think it's important to hear what this ghoul has to say. And it seems very interesting because I think this is the first time that this state media man actually is pushing back a little. He seems kind of shocked at the disregard for human life that's coming out of Homan. And it's like, Homan's always been a fucking ghoul. But it seems like he is like, dude, like, at least hide it a little better. Come on. Like, he's like shocked.
Or they see excessive force. Do you believe that this mission in Minneapolis and nationwide can still be carried out in a way that is effective for you, but at the very same time, safe for everyone else?
Yes. And we're going to continue the mission.
I hate you.
The mayor of Minneapolis.
You can protest all you want. You have that right.
Oh, we do? Okay.
But you can't impede. You can't interfere. You certainly
Impeding is a form of protest. I want to make that very clear.
can't assault ICE officers or threaten to assault them.
Oh,
we're gonna
fuck
continue
off.
this.
Y'all can assault us. Okay.
These videos that for months and months have been going around that people watch and they share and they say, look at this case of excessive force. Again, I'm not going to litigate any particular incident or ask you in detail about it, but I'm curious, you've seen these videos. I'm sure you've seen more than is even public. Have you seen any examples of clear excessive force displayed by ICE agents and officers in the field?
No.
During the whole administration?
Things that I've seen?
Yeah.
No. And when I hear things, I see a story.
He looks like Humpty Dumpty to me. He looks like an ugly Humpty Dumpty.
An allegation is made, I follow up, make sure that it's being fully investigated.
How
But I haven't seen one ICE officer found guilty of anything inappropriate.
Okay, motherfucker. You really want to pull that? An ICE officer pled guilty for raping and exploiting a detainee. She wanted to get pictures of her daughter, and so this ICE agent said, okay, if you have sex with me, I will give you pictures of your daughter. That just happened. Time and time again, you see ICE officers getting arrested on duty, off duty, doing illegal fucking shit. They have more rap sheets than the criminals that you are arresting.
Look, I'm not involved in every arrest. I reckon thousands of arrests a day, over 2,000 a day on average. I can't be aware of every ICE arrest. I trust the men and women of ICE and the Border Patrol are well trained. They get Fourth Amendment training every 6 months. I'm putting my faith in them that they do the right thing every day out there. And if they don't, they'll be held accountable.
No, they're not. It was just announced like a minute ago. I was going to talk about it after, but might as well talk about it now. That Minnesota officials are not being allowed evidence from the crime scene of what happened yesterday from the FBI and the I don't know if it's also DHS or just the FBI, but Minnesota officials are not allowed to see that evidence. Why? What are you trying to fucking hide? It's supposed to be collaborative, even though this is Israel shit. Let's be fucking real. It's like, oh, let me just do an illegal shooting, but I'm going to investigate it myself. That's what's happening here.
So help me understand then, what is your explanation for, if you say all the cases you've ever seen, all the videos that you've ever had pop up on your social media, all this stuff, you've never seen an example of excessive force. What in your mind explains the public anger and frustration with ICE and some of its tactics? We've seen it in polling, you see it in the streets. What's your explanation for it?
I think a lot is based on false media reporting. I think it's the hateful rhetoric being pushed by mayors, governors, and members of Congress. Like, for instance, I read a story last night that a majority of people ICE arrest, matter of fact, less than 10% of people ICE arrest are criminals. Really? I look at the data every morning. I read.
Yes, because you are just racist fucks. That's what you are. You're just racist. You're arresting American citizens. You're arresting people that have visas, people that have green cards. You do not give a fuck.
22 pages of data, I see exactly what's going on. So when the people are looking at social media posts and media posts are simply not factual at all, not even close, they get a judgment, right? They read something, okay, this is happening. Well, it's not happening. 70%. I mean, Washington Examiner just came out. They looked at all the data. I look at the data every day. A lot of people are being misled. And I think a lot of videos out there, what happened 30 seconds before that video? What happened 30 seconds after that video?
So now you are commenting on the video. These are questions
when
that you would have.
When I see videos, you just ask me if I see them being inappropriate.
Yeah.
No. But you don't know what happened 30 days, either do I.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to comment on something I don't see, but as what I've seen and through my reviews, I haven't seen ICE officer act inappropriately.
So as a former,
we're going to enforce the laws, and we're going to do it without apology.
So as
and
a,
if you get in the way, you step over that line, you're going to be prosecuted. You will be arrested. That's what I see every day. I see impediment. I see interference. I see ICE officers and Border Patrol agents being attacked.
So that video I showed you, it's conceivable in your mind, based on your training, based on your role as former acting director of ICE, that officer may well have been acting in self-defense. That's your view of this?
I'm not going to comment on this ongoing investigation that just started. Let the investigators do their job.
Kind of hard when y'all covering something up.
The governor of Minnesota has described the federal presence there, the ICE presence, as like an attack, like an invasion. The mayor says it's causing chaos in the streets. He says, quote, "Get the F out of Minneapolis." Assuming that you're not going to do that.
Well, first of all, he's causing chaos on the street. You want less ICE agents in the street? Then let us in the jail.
That's fucking psychotic. That's fucking psychotic. You want less issues on the street? Let us into the jail. Makes zero sense.
City. Let us arrest that public safety threat that you decided.
They're in the jail. There's no public. They're in jail.
Lock in the jail cell. You made that decision. Let ICE officers talk to that person.
You guys don't talk. ICE does not talk. You attack.
When you get fingerprinted, or you get arrested tonight, you, me, or anybody else, you get fingerprinted, your prints are run against NCIC. They're also run against DHS databases. So we know this person sitting in that jail right now that we have a warrant for, or is a prior deport. Give us access to that person. When you're done with them, let us have them. That way, safer for the public, because you're not releasing public safety threats back into the public. It's safer for the officer, and it's safer for the alien. Let us in the jail. So, I've said it 1,000.
It's safer for the alien. Let's just dehumanize the person. Fucking disgusting. I just don't know. I've never, ever in my entire life understood why we said alien. Never. No one could explain it to me either. And every time I hear it, it just makes me like cringe that we actually have people still to this day saying illegal alien.
Sometimes, ever since this, I've been doing this job, let us in the jail. There's no downside to that. But the sanctuary city politicians say, well, we're a welcoming community. We're a sanctuary city because we want victims and witnesses of a crime that are in the United States illegally feel safe to come to us with fear we're not working with ICE. That's crap. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released back in the neighborhood either. And we're not looking to talk to the victim and witness. We want to talk to the guy that they locked in the jail cell. That's what we want. The more of that we can do, the less interior enforcement community operations we have to do.
I want to ask you a kind of a bald question here. I mean, just a straight up question. You're telling me you've never seen in your tenure any example of excessive force. You're telling me you've not heard any comment from any member of this administration that is inflammatory or racist or in any way demeaning toward the immigrant community. That's what you're telling me. I know, because I've talked to people out there all over the country, a lot of Americans are going to hear that and they're going to be yelling at their television. They're going to be saying that the idea that it's zero, there's nothing there, you're calling them crazy.
I'm not calling anybody crazy. I'm telling you what I know, what I've seen. And I told you, there are over 2,000 arrests a day. I can't see every arrest.
But it just comes down to zero issues, zero problems, zero comments. It's just not believable to a lot of people, including myself. There's nothing that you would have ICE do differently. In any of these cases, we've seen all of these videos. Nothing.
I have not seen ICE act outside of policy. And if
so your policy is that let's just be goons, is what you're telling me.
There are acting outside of policy. I'm not aware of it. There will be an investigation. They'll be held accountable.
I want to ask a bigger picture question. There's a quote from Donald Trump that's a few months old. It was to the Wall Street Journal, and I've never forgotten it. I have it down here. I'm just going to read it to you, and I want your reaction. He's talking about mass deportations. He ran on it. He was elected on it. It was a popular policy. He might have decided the election. He then goes on to say, we have a lot of good people in this country, and we have to do something about it. I'd like to see if we can do it. He's referring to the mass deportation, and he goes on, there are some human questions that get in the way of being perfect. In other words, some human questions that get in the way of getting rid of everybody who's here illegally. We have to have a heart, too. Where's the heart in this?
Where's the heart in this?
Where's the heart? In the last year of
ICE
operations.
is doing everything they can to enforce the laws enacted by Congress. I just said the vast majority of everybody arrested in our public safety threats will make this country safe. I want people to remember this. ICE agents, border patrol are mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day they come to work. They got a tough job. Immigration enforcement has always been controversial. Always has been, since I started in 1984.
Yeah.
ICE did not start in 1984. ICE started in 3. ICE started after 9/11. So I don't know what he's talking about.
It's a hard job. And look, enforcing immigration law sometimes is, just being a cop sometimes, I've seen some terrible things in my career. I've seen some very sad things. Enforced law sometimes is sad. But because of the actions of President Trump, thousands of lives are being saved every month. 96% less people are coming because they know there's consequences now, which means vulnerable people, the most vulnerable people in the world, aren't giving the criminal cartels their life savings to make that dangerous journey. Sex trafficking has plummeted. People want to talk about where the heart is? The Trump administration has already found over 129,000 children that the last administration lost track of and wasn't even looking for.
I don't believe this.
And we're not going to stop till we find every one of these 300,000 missing children. Not every one of these children were in danger when we found them. Some were safe hiding out with family. But many were in sex trafficking, being sold into sex slavery. Many were into forced...
That's the thing that pisses me off is when they try to pull the sex slavery thing, is the president of the United States literally did that. He was part of the world's most in widespread human trafficking pedophilia ring. And then they're trying to tell us we save these children from human trafficking. Well, I'm glad you saved the children, although I don't believe it's happening. I think that most of these children were with their families. I think that's what actually happened.
Labor? That's the heart. The heart is a secure border saves lives. The heart is less sex trafficking is occurring. The heart is we're finding missing children. The last administration released without properly vetting who their sponsors were. We're looking for these children, and a lot of the addresses we're going to are parking lots and supermarkets. They didn't even bother not only vetting the sponsors, they didn't even check the address where these children were going to.
Mr. Holman, everything you're describing is the reason why mass deportations and the removal of criminals was a popular issue in the election. I heard about it constantly on the campaign trail. People elected Donald Trump to enact that. That is all true.
Don't make the statement that this administration has no heart.
I did not make that statement. I'm asking.
You said, where's the heart?
Because of the 30%.
I'm telling you where the heart is.
I'll tell you what I hear from voters when I'm out there and why this shows up in polls. There are many millions of Americans who have come here illegally. They crossed without documentation. They're now in the country. But a lot easier.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
There's a path to normal.
Is less sex trafficking is occurring. Children, and a lot of the addresses we're going to are parking lots and supermarkets. They didn't even bother not only vetting the sponsors, they didn't even check the address where these children were going to.
Mr. Holman, everything you're describing is the reason why mass deportations and the removal of criminals was a popular issue in the election. I heard about it constantly on the campaign trail. People elected Donald Trump to enact that. That is all true.
Don't make the statement that this administration has no heart.
I did not make that statement. I'm asking.
You said, where's the heart?
Because of the 30%.
I'm telling you where the heart is.
And I'll tell you what I hear from voters when I'm out there and why this shows up in polls. There are many millions of Americans who have come here illegally. They crossed without documentation. They're now in the country. But while they crossed illegally, they have lived here morally. They have worked hard, they have married, they are members of their community. Wouldn't your life and the life of your officers be a lot easier if there was a path to normalization for those folks? Is that something you can imagine supporting?
Let me ask you a question. Is that the way it should be? Enter
Yes.
the country illegally, it's a crime.
Let me tell you something.
You know what else is a crime? Rape. But yet you still have not arrested the president of the United States.
You asked the question.
Yeah.
Well, hide out long enough. Go have a U.S. citizen child and you're immune. You're above the law now. No consequences. People continue making that journey, and more people are going to continue to die. What I'm saying is, if you come to this country, hide out long enough, if you're successful, hide out, that sends the bad message to the rest of the world. Either don't show up in court or ignore a judge's order. We are a nation of laws. And what do you say to the millions of people
We're a fucking joke.
that are standing in line, taking their tests, doing their background investigation, paying their fees? They're sitting in the back seat because people who cheated the system. You crossed the border legally, you cheated the system, put yourself in front of the line of all these people coming in legally, and you want to be treated better than them. What's that say to millions of people trying to play by the rules? If you want to be part of the greatest nation on earth, the first action shouldn't be violating our laws and disrespecting the laws of this country.
It's a good question, and here's the honest response to it.
And President Trump has said there are discussions ongoing with like farmers and other things. And remember Trump 45 came up with a DACA fix. Who shut it down? Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, because they didn't want to give money to the wall.
I don't want to get away from this key question, right? You ask, is that the way it should be? Should people who crossed illegally...
Is it okay to enter this country legally, sir? Is it okay to enter this country legally? Let me ask you this one question. Is it okay to enter this country legally in violation of law?
This is why I'm asking this question. For the history of this country, let me get this out. My family, many millions of families, the vast majority of families...
I'm kind of shocked. It seems like this is something Tony is really passionate about. Like, he's really pushing back. I mean, I'm fucking finally, Jesus Christ. But like, I'm just shocked because you don't normally see this, especially from Barry Weiss's state media company.
Families, in fact, here in America, crossed either before 1920, when there was no limitation, you just came over, they got you in. 98% of the people who came to Ellis Island walked down the gangplank, welcome to America. After the 1920s immigration restrictions, people came over from the unwanted countries of southern Italy and eastern Italy, or southern Europe, Eastern Europe, and they were here illegally. A lot of Irish, a lot of Czech, a lot of Italians, a lot of them in Texas. Guess what? The U.S. government normalized them if they hadn't committed crimes. Fast forward to the 1980s, we had a lot of immigrants from Latin America. They had crossed illegally. They were here morally, in their lives, after the crossing. They were normalized by the million, by the Reagan administration. This is how we've always actually done it in America. So what you're describing in your question is a change.
The world is different. The world is different.
We're racist fucks, Nazis, that's what. We don't give a fuck. That's what he's saying.
This was the last President Trump 45. How many people on the terrorist watch list were apprehended crossing the southern border? In 4 years, 14. How many are in Joe Biden? Over 400. We got 2.1 million known gotaways. Called on video traffic, drone traffic, central traffic. 2 million people paid more to the criminal cartels to get away. Why did 2 million people pay more? Not to get all the free giveaway. Because if you pay less to the cartel, say, look, I'll pay you this lesser amount, turn myself into a green uniform, be released within 24 hours, get a free airline ticket to the city of my choice, get a free hotel room, get 3 meals a day, get free medical care.
Get free medical care, get free meals a day, even though you're literally being treated like shit. The food tastes like shit. The food is moldy. Like, they make it seem like they're doing luxury business. This is a luxurious hotel. When you treat people like shit, but you say, we're giving you free stuff, it still is not like actually gonna like make a difference. You're still treating like people shit. You're giving them moldy food. That's not a good thing.
And get work authorization after 90 days. Why did 2 million people choose to pay more, not to take advantage of that giveaway program? They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. This just scared out everybody. This world is different today. We know, and Tulsi Gabbard's been clear about this, we have thousands of people that are terrorists in this country. And we're trying to
You're a fucking terrorist. You're a domestic terrorist.
find them. The world isn't the same it was back then. And here's the issue. When the Biden administration created this humanitarian crisis on purpose, it wasn't an accident, it wasn't incompetence, they meant to open that border up. They overwhelmed the Border Patrol. And you've been down there many times. On average, 70% of agents were pulled off the line to deal with this humanitarian crisis. And the criminal cartels took advantage of that. It created gaps. That's when the sex trafficking women and children went sky high. That's when the gang members crossed with no impediment because Border Patrol was off the line. That's when the fentanyl came across, killed 250,000 Americans. That's when the no inspector terrorists skyrocketed. I wake up every day, go to bed every night, knowing we got over 2 million known gotaways. Who are they? Where they came from? So it's a different world today. A secure border means you have stronger national security. A secure border saves lives.
One final question.
I think that's so ironic that he literally says a secure border saves lives when an American citizen was literally just murdered. It's just so ironic. And these people just truly do not care. They are truly monsters. Like monsters.
Venezuela. Clearly, the Maduro regime was dangerous in the eyes of the U.S. government. We just launched a raid to remove him. At the very same time, the administration has removed protections for Venezuelans here who fled that danger. How does that make sense?
Well, that's the Secretary of Homeland Security and the State Department works very closely on that. But I will say this, temporary protective status. I've been doing this since 1984. I don't think I've ever seen TPS be temporary. Gets extended. The law clearly says when the condition of the country change, then that TPS should end. So that's in litigation right now, so I'm not going to comment on it. Going litigation, but we look back over all the TPS programs in the last 40 years, and look how many were actually temporary.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Mr. Homan, I appreciate you being so open and honest in all this.
He's like, God, you guys are actual Nazis. I'm shocked, to be honest. Let me see what the comments say. He's trying really hard to get a gotcha moment. Journalism used to mean not knowing what the interviewer's opinion was. Jeez. When someone is able to clearly see an interviewer's opinion on a given subject, it is not an interview. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. I don't know. Okay, let's see about this morning now.
So I just want to tell folks what we're looking at here. This is
Literally happening. This was this morning.
St. Paul, where there are clashes taking place right now. Live pictures. Protesters are clashing with what appears to be ICE agents, and it appears that the protesters are trying to enter a federal building.
I don't think they're trying to enter anywhere, Mika. What are you talking about?
And they are.
Well, right now, these images obviously are police officers are surrounding and keeping. Officers are keeping them on the ground. John?
Yeah, we will keep an eye on this. But clearly a heated clash here. This has been a concern all along. Minneapolis and St. Paul, right across the river, have been a bit of a powder keg. So we know that, of course, is where George Floyd was killed in 2020.
Okay, okay. They keep saying this is where George Floyd was killed. This is where George Floyd was killed. There's such a big difference between what happened with George Floyd and what happened here. Like, such a big difference. And by continuing to put the two together, to conflate the two, it's just diminishing both of their memories, George Floyd and Renee Good's memory. George Floyd was murdered because he was a black man by a racist, Derek Chauvin, period. Renee Good was murdered because she was just in the way. ICE did not give a single fuck. It was because she was in the way. At the end of the day, you cannot tell me that they are the same, because they're not. Because the brutality of police officers against black men, specifically systematic racism, has been a long issue for generations. This issue with ICE is new. ICE brutalizing people on the streets is new. And so for them to continue to say that is really frustrating, because it's two very different situations. But at the end of the day, what's really frustrating and what I keep hearing is that they're like, oh, like, we're saying it because it was just four blocks away. We're saying it because we know that this is just going to be a powder keg, like we just said. And it's like, I think if this happened anywhere, people would be angry. I don't think the fact that it's happened in Minnesota makes much of a change, because people are still going to be angry that a Gestapo fuck that we still don't know whose name he is, we don't know anything, is free, and one of their community members is dead. That's not going to fly well with people. It's just...
There's been ICE operations stepped up in recent weeks. The Trump administration has really levied accusations about fraud, singling out the Somali community in recent days. And now we are seeing these significant protests the day after the shooting of a woman in her car. John Sandwig, as we keep an eye on these images, I wanted to ask you to take a step back, not about the specific incident, but you're a former acting ICE director. You know, there's been questions raised this morning about the training, about the readiness of ICE agents and Border Patrol agents who are used to doing very different operations along the border as opposed to urban areas like Minneapolis. Do you have worries that these men and women simply aren't prepared to do the job they've been asked to do?
Absolutely.
So it's come out that their training is only 47 days. And the reason it's only 47 days is because President Trump is the 47th president. I fucking wish I was joking, but I'm not, because we live in hell.
I have very strong concerns about what we're doing tactically. We've put ICE officers in the position to do things they weren't trained to do. They're not part of their core mission. We've pulled U.S. Border Patrol agents who are trained to interdict individuals in remote areas where the rules of engagement are the same, but the threats they face are so radically different. And we put them up in urban areas like Minneapolis. And really, these videos that we're seeing now are very concerning to me, because it's ICE and Border Patrol agents who just have no training and experience in doing crowd control or public order policing, who are now, which is delicate, but also they're the target themselves of the protesters' ire. It just has a tendency to inflame the situation and escalate. I feel like the administration, I think that you could have taken a position where here we want to de-escalate this situation, issue the proper statement, have the secretary say there will be a full investigation, we'll get maximum transparency, lower the profile of the agency in the city itself. Unfortunately, I think it seems like the administration wants to steer the other way. The secretary herself returned to Minneapolis, doubled down on the defense of both the operation itself, but also what happened with the shooting. All of that is not about de-escalation, but rather the opposite. It seems it's going to just further tensions, and I'm worried about what's going to happen in the coming days.
Well, and this right here, these live pictures that we're looking at out of St. Paul, this is exactly what the governor and governors and mayors across the country have been warning about. This type of tension between ICE and the community. ICE, that many would argue, are not trained well enough in general, armed, and not trained to deal with these specific communities, not in sync with the local police and with local officials, with no connectivity and no communication about exactly what they're doing to, quote, make America safer. And then you have the community here worried about their friends and neighbors, rightfully so. After people are being disappeared across the country, people are being hurt, people are being separated from their families, whether illegal, going through the process, or American citizens. It's happening to all types of people who are in this country. There is fear, there is anger. And now, after yesterday, one could argue there's no question there's chaos.
Chaos. Absolutely chaotic.
We're going to begin this hour, though, with that deadly shooting in Minneapolis where a woman was killed in her car by an ICE agent. The whole thing was caught on video. At first, she appears to try to back away, and then she moves forward before being shot. This is very difficult to watch. The woman has now been identified as 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. She was mother to a 6-year-old child. Her death has prompted protests nationwide.
Who is now an orphan. That child is now an orphan because that child's father died in 2023.
Deployment of federal agents to American cities. CBS Evening News anchor Tony DeCopel is in Minneapolis leading our coverage. Tony, it's good to see you again. I have to get used to saying CBS Evening News anchor. Glad to have you here. Sorry it's under these circumstances. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Gail, good morning. Glad to be back. I do wish you were under different circumstances. We can start with what we know for sure. Renee Nicole Good was in her SUV when federal immigration officers surrounded that SUV, at one point attempting to open her door. She was then fatally shot when she tried to drive forward. We also know that sources tell CBS News she was an American citizen. Other questions, though, remain. CBS News Minnesota reporter Jonah Kaplan watched the video of the shooting with a retired ICE agent to try to answer some of those questions, talk about the tactics used. I'm looking forward to this piece, Jonah. Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. You know, whenever something like this happens, you always hear a lot of similar things from police. They're split-second decisions. They happen so quickly. We went frame by frame through 2 videos with a veteran of federal law enforcement, someone who was actually injured in a vehicular assault back in 2008. And according to him, when you look at these videos, he sees some red flags.
On whose part?
First thing, just out of the gate, man, like, I don't hear anybody identifying themselves. I don't hear anybody like, hey, police.
They never identify themselves. They never identify themselves. Over and over again, you see them. They do not identify themselves.
We went through video of Wednesday's deadly shooting frame by frame with retired ICE agent Eric Ballier.
You see 3 officers, 2 to the side, and then 1 directly in front of the vehicle. Is that the right place they should be?
I don't understand the tactical or law enforcement advantage of having someone on foot in front of a moving, running, or occupied vehicle. You're almost inducing a shooting if that person decides to flee.
When the car accelerates, the officer in front of the car appears to fire 3 shots, killing the driver, 37-year-old Renee Good, and sending her vehicle careening into a parked car.
What's the training when it comes to someone fleeing in a vehicle?
If someone is fleeing, that is not a justification for the use of deadly force. The threshold becomes, is your life in imminent danger?
Ballier also focused in on the direction of the car's wheels, which he says indicate Good may have been trying to turn away from the officers.
She's trying to get around that vehicle, is what it appears to me. She has the steering wheel turned to the right, and she's trying to get away.
You guys are the criminals. You don't get to tell us what to do.
Ballier acknowledges that agents regularly encounter demonstrators, which can heighten tensions, but he says it's law enforcement's job to de-escalate.
I hate to say it, but you have to tune out the noise. You have to focus on your objective.
Secretary Christie, known for the Department of Homeland Security, continues to insist this was done in self-defense. But if you look at the policies that actually guide the Department of Homeland Security, Tony, there are 2 reasons why someone could fire into a car. One is if the driver has a weapon, and the second is if there's no other reasonable defensive measure to take, including getting out of the way.
Really fascinating analysis from that officer who's been in a situation like that before himself. Jonah, thank you.
Seems like that ICE officer's fucking pissed. That's what that sounded like to me. Let's see a little bit about how the riots are, protest. This is a little too loud.
Hey, do you guys know that Renee Good is who you murdered yesterday?
Let's go find.
So, I don't know where they...
Minorities today, huh?
Touch any one of us to get arrested for assault. You're the only fucker touching anyone here. Back up.
Okay, they really need to stop wearing police because they're not fucking police.
All you gotta do is move. Back up. Back up. Hey, fucking move.
All right, so this is DHS police. This is not Minneapolis police. This is DHS police. We are outside the Whipple building. This is the...
Wait, DHS has their own police? Since when? What? DHS has their own... So DHS is not ICE? DHS has law enforcement? Oh, okay.
Federal building where ICE is operating out of. As you see, their cars are coming out to go do their daily operations. This is a large protest that started at 7 a.m. There are hundreds of people out here right now.
7 a.m. Wow.
All right, so we have Border Patrol. We have Border Patrol agents, DHS police. There's ICE officers here. Smash that like button, share this live stream, get it out there. Early morning protest.
Also, why are they filming? Like, I'm sorry, this is weird. Like, you expect us to trust these people? You expect us to trust people that have their entire fucking faces covered because they're such fucking pussies, and you're expected to have us trust them. No. High school dropout. That's funny.
And we already know about these. I just followed orders to them. Fuck up. Why don't you tell these people to back the fuck up?
What's up your fucking ass? God damn. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. Put earplugs in. Walk away. They have such small egos, such small everything that the moment you test it a little bit, they fucking lose it.
Yep. Okay, then back up. Dave, no, we don't have to. Yes, you do. How many dollars? You just shoot all of us?
I'm glad that people are protesting. I really am.
On the fucking street, boxing her in. You create a violent scenario, don't be shocked when you get violent. Idiots.
Border Patrol gets so sloppy in the back. Fuck.
The thing is also what's really hard for most people too is these fuckers don't have uniforms. Like when you know when you see a police officer, you know police are police are there. Here it's a mix with Border Patrol, DHS, CPS, like you don't know.
Take that shit off. You're not police. Take that shit off. That's bullshit. You're police.
Ice out now! 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 Ice out now!
Oh, the dark city here. Tell you, it's an epidemic of illegal kids.
So Renee's ex-husband has made a statement. In social media accounts, Macklin Good described herself as Macklin Good, I'm guessing is the mom. As a poet, writer, wife, and mom, she said she was currently experiencing Macklin. Who's Macklin? I'm not sure who Macklin is. Never mind. Wait, who's Macklin? Because this is maybe the husband. Because it says here, as a poet and a writer and a mom and a wife, she said she was currently experiencing Minneapolis, displaying a pride flag emoji on her Instagram account. A profile picture posted to Pinterest shows her smiling and holding a young child against her cheek, along with posts about tattoos, hairstyles, and home decorating. Her ex-husband, Renee Good's ex-husband, who asked not to be named out of concern for the safety of their children, said Macklin Good had just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school Wednesday and was driving home with her current partner when they encountered a group of ICE agents on a snowy street in Minneapolis, where they had moved last year from Kansas City, Missouri. Trump administration officials painted Macklin Good as a domestic terrorist who had attempted to ram federal agents with her car, Her ex-husband said she was no activist and that he had never known her to participate in a protest of any kind. That's so sad.
Show your face! 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 Pussy! Show your face! Oh, you're following him up now, gonna hurt somebody.
So we'll go back to that. Okay. Let's see what Fox News is saying.
Minneapolis is dead after an ICE-involved shooting. These are live pictures from Minneapolis. There are videos, as we speak, going around social media showing what happened earlier today between protesters and ICE. We're working on bringing you those videos. You can see one of them on your screen as we speak. Basically, here's what it describes. It shows agents in a truck pulling up to a car that appears to be blocking the road. The two agents get out. They walk up to the driver's side of the car. From there, things escalate quickly. One agent touches the car and the driver starts driving backwards with the agent's hand still on the car. The driver then hits the gas while another agent appears to be standing in front of the vehicle. That agent, more in front of the car, appears to open fire as the car barrels towards him. DHS telling Fox News the officer who fired the shots had been dragged by a car last June in Minneapolis. We've since learned the driver of the car who was shot was a 37-year-old woman. She was killed. President Trump has weighed in just the last 30 minutes. He wrote, "I have just viewed the clip of the event which took place in Minneapolis. It is a horrible thing to watch. The woman screaming was obviously a professional agitator, and the woman driving the car was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. It is hard to believe he is alive, but is now recovering in the hospital. The situation is being studied in its entirety. But the reason these incidents are happening is because the radical left is threatening, assaulting, and targeting our law enforcement officers and ICE agents on a daily basis. They are just trying to do the job of making America safe. We need to stand by and protect our law enforcement officers from this radical left movement of violence and hate." Now, not long after the incident, just a few hours ago, we saw chaos already beginning between law enforcement and rioters on the streets of Minneapolis. Watch.
Kill someone else! Don't get killed for this. It's not worth it, Go another way! Move! Go another way! Move! Go another way! Behind us! Move!
Literally, our entire right-wing government are criminals. The controversy is just that they define criminal as anyone not on their side, born in the wrong place. Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. Completely correct.
Get out of the way! Get out! Chris, get out the way! Get out the way of the truck! Move!
I'm kind of surprised Fox News is showing all this, not gonna lie. Like, I am actually shocked.
Nazis! Nazis! Nazis!
Tense in a city that not even 6 years ago was destroyed by political tension, by lawlessness, by agitators. And on that note, not long after that moment you saw on your screen, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey held a news conference where he basically begged for this to be 2026 George Floyd.
I have a message.
That's not what he said.
For ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
Trust me, I have a lot to say about Mayor Jacob Frey and how he's handling what's happening in Minneapolis. We're going to get to that in just a moment. But
I think that's hilarious, him saying that with a straight face when you're showing this.
But just in the last few minutes, Democrat Minnesota Governor Tim Walz also found a podium.
I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops.
Weird line. Our National Guard troops in Minnesota, seemingly pitting them against the United States of America. First, though, I want to go to Fox News correspondent Mike Tobin, who's on the scene in Minneapolis. He's been there all afternoon, where there are a lot of protesters and law enforcement officials on the scene. What's happening right now, Mike?
Well, this is a crowd that is left over at the scene where the woman was shot there. We saw the crowd dissipate largely when law enforcement stood down. They took the friction point away, if you will, and a large crowd of protesters followed them marching north on the street here. There were some objects thrown at that time, but the situation is pretty calm right now. I'd say there are about 150 people hanging around the scene where that woman was shot. Now, incidentally, Secretary Kristi Noem has weighed in on this. She called the use of the vehicle domestic terrorism.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased. We're continuing to gather more information, but this goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day.
I despise her.
Now, the narrative that the officer fired in self-defense or the defense of his fellow officers, Mayor Jacob Frey called that BS. He didn't use the acronym. And the Governor Walz weighed in on it. He said, don't believe the propaganda. Now, we do know from a DHS source who was speaking to John Roberts that the agent who fired the shot was involved in a vehicular dragging incident last June, was dragged by a vehicle, that particular officer. Also, since January of 2025, there have been 100 vehicular attacks while the agents are responding to different scenes and conducting their operations. Having done ride-alongs with the agents, I can tell you that the vehicular aggression is pretty frequent, and the feeling of the agents is it was just a matter of time before someone got hurt. Will?
Well, thank you so much, Mike Tobin. Now, in addition to revisiting the rhetoric of Jacob Frey, Tim Walz, and other Democratic politicians when it comes to ICE, we will be talking about the legality of this incident, the shooting in Minneapolis. But we have new video that we want to show you from the moment of the attack. This is a more wide view. We're working on a spot shadow for this video to show you exactly where to train your eyes.
I don't even think they can spin this, to be honest. I don't even think they know how to.
I want to bring in Minnesota Democratic State Senator Zainab Mohammed, who was at some of the protests this morning. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. What did you see and what are you hearing from your constituents right now?
Thank you so much for having me this morning. And as you've said this morning, I was up early with the community as they were protesting. And the community is grieving this morning. They're mourning, and rightfully they are outraged yet again because of the killing of an innocent member in our community who their life was taken by the hands of federal agents. And they feel that this was completely unnecessary and avoidable. And so they're taking it to the streets as they did in 2020 and demanding justice for the life of Renee. They're also asking for ICE to leave the city because they're not keeping them safe. I was there this morning, and what I saw on the ground is a community that is grieving and that is sad. And I saw federal agents who were pepper spraying people, who were throwing pepper balls at people, who were tear gassing at people, who were completely peacefully protesting. And so what we're seeing is a complete escalation by ICE officers. They're not backing down. And I think they're escalating the situation, and they're making this state really, really unsafe.
There's already been a lot of jumping to conclusions and spin about what happened yesterday. What do you know right now about the status of the investigations?
What I know right now is that the FBI is investigating alongside with the BCA. The unfortunate thing is our community does not trust the federal government to investigate this case in a way that's honest because of the ways in which this story is already being spent by federal government, by the vice president, by Chris Noam. And so the video shows what happened, and community trusts their eyes. We want to make sure that what happened and what we're seeing does not get spin and does not turn into propaganda, that this family and this community deserve justice. We're also asking for local law enforcement to have more of a serious investigatory position in this case, and they're not just told what's happening, but that they're actual partner with the federal government.
The Trump administration claims this agent acted in self-defense. DHS called Renee Good a rioter and a domestic terrorist. President Trump called her violent. Is that what you saw when you watched the videos?
No, not at all. And I think America sees the video and they see the lies that are being pushed by this federal government. The video clearly shows that this woman was trying to leave the scene in a way that's peaceful. And what the federal government and the president are doing is pushing a propaganda about the victim. And it is meant to protect them and instill fear in people. And it's meant to give right-wing social media influencers a narrative and a way to spin the story and to say that this person was.
What's really wild is, if you think about it, if Nick Shirley had never made that video, and if Elon Musk had never kind of pushed it down everyone's throat on X, then ICE would not have gone crazy into Minnesota. And if Hilton had actually allowed their place to refuse a stay for their ICE officers instead of siding with ICE, if these people had actually done what they're supposed to do instead of siding with fascism, Renee would still be alive. And I think that's what's wild is, like, we always, growing up, when I was taught about the Holocaust, I always would think, like, how did people let this happen? How did people let this happen? And it's because people literally let it happen. They either close their eyes, they turn their backs, or they just were like, oh, one time, it's not that big of a deal. Or this is harmless. It's not going to do anything. And it builds and builds and builds and grows until this happens. Someone ends up dead.
Violent. This person was leaving in their car. They weren't doing anything. There was no reason to shoot them. There was no reason to escalate the situation. And that's been happening a lot. Even yesterday when we left Roosevelt High School, which is in my district, at 2:30 p.m., ICE agents showed up. And the reason they showed up is it's because there was a community member who's fleeing, who felt like that they were driving behind them, that they were trying to go after them. They were a citizen. So they showed up to the school because that was the safest place. And they thought ICE would not show up at a school. They did, and they took that person and they pepper sprayed students and they pepper sprayed educators, and that's why Minneapolis public schools are part of the reason why they're closing their schools today is because ICE is everywhere. They're escalating the situation.
So ICE, and I have video of it, and I'm going to show it in a second. ICE went on to school property, attacked staff members, pepper sprayed students. they're fucking just going rampant. They are lawless thugs. They're lawless Gestapo that are not being reined in. And the Democratic leadership is refusing to rein them in, refusing to fucking do anything.
And they are targeting innocent community members, and they're doing what we have always said would be the worst outcome, which is killing people.
DHS touted this Minneapolis surge as their largest operation ever. Immigrants are on edge, we know, across all these major cities where we've seen these big enforcement operations. Polling shows Americans aren't fans of the Trump immigration approach, but the administration has been clear that these enforcement actions aren't going away. How problematic is this situation, and how does it de-escalate?
It's very problematic. There are over 2,000 federal agents here in Minnesota. It is the largest ICE raid of all time in the state's history, with a relatively small population of undocumented immigrants. And they know that too, because they were here just a few weeks ago with hundreds of agents, and they learned what we've always been saying, that Somali immigrants are citizens, that they have status in this country, that you're not going to find many who are undocumented. And so that means they sent all these agents this weekend so that they can intimidate and harass people, and they can cause trouble. And most importantly, so that they can make sure that Chris Noem can take videos and send it to their base, and so that they can take credit for it. And I think what I would say to that is, if they are going to take credit for this, then they also need to take credit for killing an innocent woman on broad daylight in our streets. I think America sees what this federal government is doing, and ICE agents are not keeping people safe. They are hiring. I think they hired well over 12,000 ICE agents just recently in a very short amount of time. These people are not trained. They're just recruited and getting a paycheck. And I think it's really unfortunate, because not only is the public losing trust in us, the world is losing trust in our country in this moment.
Minnesota State Senator Zainab Mohammed, thank you for taking the time.
So let me show you what else ICE did yesterday. Breaking: ICE Border Patrol agents were filmed assaulting U.S. citizens outside a high school in Minneapolis, pepper spraying students as agents swarmed the school entrance. School administrators and staff, desperately tried to get agents off school property while ushering students away from the armed federal agents. Chaos, panic, children running for safety, and yes, agents pepper spraying students. This didn't happen by accident. This is one of the many. Let me lower it a little. That was really sorry. They know when school closes, by the way. Like they know. This is at a school, a fucking high school. A fucking high school. Look, grabs the student, grabs teachers, grabs staff. I swear, these people are fucking monsters. I had another one. This is another video. An official from Roosevelt High School in Minneapolis told NPR News that armed U.S. Border Patrol officers came into school property during dismissal Wednesday and began dismissal. What's the video? What do you mean? Oh, I haven't played this one yet. They handcuffed 2 staff members and released chemical weapons on bystanders. So this was yesterday. These are students. And so because one student did what a student does. Oh, no worries. This is the same video, the same view, but closer up of the previous one. Because students were being kids, threw a snowball. This is how they responded. People running, chaos. running chaos.
These bitch ass niggas, bro.
That was a grenade. That was a big ass grenade. Damn.
Teachers trying to.
Bear tackle that football, bitch.
I mean, what do you do? These are ICE agents. Yes, they came to their to a high school during dismissal.
Literally just killed someone. Where kill you? Fuck you. Guys, let's
Fuck you. You guys are fucking murderers.
You guys gotta go.
Like, this is Gestapo.
check a poll.
This was during this from yesterday. This is an article. They had to cancel classes. Minneapolis canceled school for the next couple of days because of this. Because of this, they had to cancel classes. And then also because of, I don't know if it's specifically because of this and the murder or just because of this. Minneapolis public schools on Wednesday canceled classes district-wide for the remainder of the week due to safety concerns following the killing of a woman Wednesday by an ICE agent. The district said it was acting out of abundance of caution. The move came after officials at a Roosevelt High School said armed U.S. Border Patrol officers came on school property during dismissal Wednesday and began tackling people, handcuffed 2 staff members, and released chemical weapons on bystanders. The guy, I'm telling him, like, please step off the school grounds. And this dude comes up and bumps into me and then tells me that I pushed him and he's trying to push me and he knocked me down, a school official who spoke to NPR News on condition of anonymity. They don't care. They're just animals, said the official. The official added, I've never seen people behave like that. And Bovino was even there. Fucking Bovino was there. The school leader said armed officers with apparent Border Patrol insignia on their uniforms because they don't have uniforms. So people assume they're Border Patrol or they're ICE, but there's no uniform, so they really don't know. And they don't identify themselves. They never identify themselves. Arrived at a street near the school in several SUV vehicles during dismissal on Wednesday afternoon. They broke out the window of a vehicle. There's a car that got hit. I don't know how it got hit. They broke out the window, the school official said. Then different neighborhood watch people, the staff in the school came out, and then they started coming on the property of the school and pushing people and tackling people and shooting pepper spray and pepper balls, and they handcuffed 2 of our employees. NPR shared with NPR News showed armed masked officers with apparent Border Patrol's insignia on their uniforms dragging a person on a sidewalk outside of a high school, tussling with another person as bystanders blow whistles and shout. Like, imagine you see this fucker try to get at your kids. The school official said some high school students were involved in altercations with officers, many sheltered at a nearby library. Kate Winkle, who lives in the neighborhood near Roosevelt, said she saw the border agents on her drive home from work and witnessed agents pull a person into one of their vehicles. In a video shared with NPR News, a Border Patrol official is shown pushing 47-year-old Winkle to the ground after telling her to get out of the street. She fucking lives there. Winkle said she witnessed agents in other physical confrontations with school staff and parents and near school property. I think school property should be off limits. I think our kids need to feel safe at school. Winkle said the federal government doesn't need to attack schools. Well, they don't care. In an email sent to school families on Wednesday, school principal Christian Ledsma said the school instituted a lockout due to law enforcement presence outside of our school involving a vehicle that stopped near our building. After the school's regular dismissal time, staff and students witnessed law enforcement engage with people at Roosevelt. Imagine getting that as a parent or a guardian. He said school counselors, social workers, and district personnel would be available to any students who need support. Yeah, they're going to need support. I'm telling you that right now. Late Wednesday, district officials told staff and families in an email that all district-sponsored programs, activities, athletics, and community education classes would be canceled and that it would collaborate with the city of Minneapolis on emergency preparedness response. This was yesterday. So it's interesting you say that, Glimmer, because this story that I'm about to share is not getting enough information. This was not the first person that ICE actually murdered. There was a murder on New Year's Eve, actually.
Here tonight, you can take a look at the memorial that they left behind, all the candles and the signs and flowers, some now calling for an
No, I'm not from Minneapolis.
investigation.
Say his name! Keith Porter! Say his name! Keith Porter!
Grief and anger filling in Northridge Street at a vigil for 43-year-old Keith Porter.
He was a great black man. He was a girl dad.
Described as a father with 2 kids, Porter is accused of firing AR-15 bullets in the air outside this apartment last week to celebrate the new year before he was shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent.
His only mistake was thinking that he was free enough to do it here. And to the people that think it was a stupid act, it's the same stupid act that many of us have done time and time again. New Year's Eve celebratory.
This is not someone who was out to harm anyone.
But according to an LAPD report, the off-duty agent heard gunshots, confronted Porter, identified himself as law enforcement, and claims Porter shot towards him, prompting the agent to fire back, killing Porter.
Police lie, and it's disgusting the way in which they assassinate black life.
Claiming that he had an AR-15 and was shooting bullets up in the air.
It's not the smartest thing to do if that is the case, but regardless, is that punishable by death? I don't think so. I think, we have due process in this country.
So if you could spread his name, Keith Porter, I don't think a lot of people know this happened because this was an off-duty ICE officer, but he leaves behind 2 daughters, and this is him. On Keith Porter, a 43-year-old father of 2, was fatally shot by an off-duty ICE agent on New Year's Eve 2025 at an apartment complex in Northridge, Los Angeles. The Department of Homeland Security has characterized the incident as, quote, active shooter situation. According to DHS officials, the unidentified agent heard multiple gunshots and went outside to investigate, where he encountered Porter armed with an AR-style rifle. They claim Porter fired at least 3 rounds at the agent after refusing commands to drop the weapon, prompting the agent to return fire in self-defense. No injuries were reported for the officer. I think even if you don't live in the United States, I still think it's important for people to know, because right now people only know about Renee Good, understandably so, because of the video of her being killed by ICE. But I still think that this man's memory, people need to know about him, and there needs to be justice for him as well. So even if you don't live in the States, just letting people know, like, this is actually the second time this has happened. In contrast, Porter's family and activists were from Black Lives Matter. Los Angeles have challenged the official narrative during a candlelight vigil held on January 4th, 2026. Relatives contended that Porter was merely firing celebratory shots into the air to ring in the new year and posed no threat to others. Family members have criticized the agent's decision to confront Porter while off duty, arguing that protocol dictates calling 911 rather than engaging in a shootout. That is correct. BLM co-founder Melina Abdullah has called for the agent's arrest, describing the shooting as a murder. I would agree. The Los Angeles Police Department, LAPD, is currently investigating the incident but has yet to interview the ICE agent due to specific protocols governing investigations of federal officers. So he gets to kill someone, but they still have not talked to him because of protocol. BLM leaders were scheduled to meet with the Los Angeles County District Attorney on Monday, January 5th, to demand an independent investigation and accountability. As of today, January 6th, no arrests have been made, and the investigation into the use of deadly force remains ongoing. So this is him, and this is him and his daughters, I'm guessing. So sad. 43 years old. That's the thing. I don't care if you're an off-duty cop. You still have to call 911. Like, hello? And on top of that, ICE officers aren't even cops. They're ICE agents, Gestapo, in my opinion. And that's not what they're there for. ICE is supposed to apprehend illegal immigrants. I'm doing it in air quotes because they're just arresting everyone that's black or brown. But the point is that it's really significant that this person felt that they had so much power to murder a man in cold blood because they could. ICE is not supposed to fire on someone ever. And that person was not in danger. That ICE agent was not in danger. They just lived there. They left their home to go initiate their fucking power trip. And instead of just calling 911 and Keith Porter just getting arrested or a citation, I don't know really how the law works, he would probably be alive today. Because the people who shoot guns to celebrate New Year's Eve all the time, like that's not a new thing. That's a thing that's always happens. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. Like, I think it's fucking stupid. But it's not a new thing. And also, I think it's really important because we don't know who these ICE officers are. They don't identify themselves ever. And when they do, it's how do you believe them? They don't have badges. They don't have uniforms. And people have been saying that they're ICE and they're actual criminals and have been kidnapping, raping, and robbing people because they're pretending to be ICE because they can get away with not wearing a mask, with wearing a mask. So I think it's really significant that this is not being talked about. I think it's significant because it's just like, he says that post didn't say he identified himself. And the thing is, let's be real, even if he did, would you believe that person? A masked figure comes at you and says, put the gun down while they have a gun? That's terrifying. And we don't even know if that's what actually happened. This is another article I found. Where did it go? Am I still alive? Okay. Where did it go? Oh my gosh, did I lose this article? No, I might need to re-find this article. Give me a second. Article LA. Angeles Times. But it talked about how he did identify, like the agent identified himself. And I'm like, okay, but like, you're telling me that this person identified themselves and we're supposed to listen to them, identify them, but they're wearing a mask probably and they don't have a badge and they're the only ones there. That's scary. At least I think so. Okay. When Adrian Metior first heard government officials describing his best friend as an active shooter and a threat to his community, he was furious. Keith Porter Jr. was a lot of things, a jack of all trades who worked dozens of jobs, a proud girl dad to his daughters, an avid fisherman, a diehard San Francisco 49ers fan, and a performer who loved, to drive a room to laughter with his goofy antics, friends and families and relatives said. But they contend Porter wasn't the threat Trump administration officials claimed he was, after an off-duty U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent shot and killed him in Northridge on New Year's Eve. That is far from the truth. I can't even fathom that idea of him being looked at in a negative light, calling the officer a hero before any investigation had been conducted. This is ridiculous, Medior said, 45. In the week that has passed since Porter's death, his loved ones and community activists have rejected the narrative offered by federal officials to explain his killing, acknowledging he may have been armed, but maintaining he was only celebrating the new year, not trying to shoot anyone. The use of deadly force by immigration agents was back in the national spotlight on Wednesday after an ICE officer shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis and drew condemnation from the city's mayor, who called the incident reckless. In a statement issued last week, Trish McLaughlin, chief spokeswoman for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, claimed Porter was suspected to be an active shooter and said he was killed following an exchange of gunfire with an off-duty ICE agent at the Village Point Apartments on Roscoe Boulevard. McLaughlin said the brave officer, who has not been identified, lived at the apartment complex and was protecting his community. Oh my gosh, I'm reading it and not showing it. I apologize. He reported the incident to authorities after it happened, she said. After it happened. Instead of calling 911 immediately, he reported it after it happened. McLaughlin did not respond to a detailed list of questions from the Times this week. In a statement, the Los Angeles Police Department declined to name Porter or provide any further details, except to confirm that a gun was recovered at the scene. Okay, but yet again, they need to have that ICE agent's gun. They need to test that ICE agent's gun for evidence. What are we doing? Early news reports after the incident said that Porter was firing an assault-style rifle. A law enforcement official speaking on the condition of anonymity, I can never say that word correctly, in order to discuss an active case, confirmed that detail to the Times this week. Porter's loved ones and advocates said they believe he was ringing in the new year by firing a gun into the air, an illegal and dangerous LA practice that city officials discourage because the falling bullets can hit bystanders. See, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing that's done. It's not it's a thing. Firing a gun into the air in the city can bring felony charges, but Jamal Tucson, an attorney for Porter's family, said at a news conference earlier this week that the ICE agent overreacted. I agree. A felony charges, the man is still alive. That's the difference. A felony charge is a charge, but the man is still alive. What should have been an arrest and possible citation has turned into a death sentence, a potentially cold-blooded murder from an ICE agent who was not equipped to handle the situation, Tucson said. Tucson claims several people at the apartment complex were firing guns in the air, and only one was murdered. Interesting. The shooting happened around 10:40 p.m., according to LAPD, long before fireworks and gunshots marked midnight around the city on New Year's Eve. Tucson did not dispute that his client was in possession of a rifle. On Wednesday, he said he'd interviewed several witnesses at the scene, including one person who heard someone demanding that Porter put down the rifle more than once. I have to go. I'll be honest. I'm scared for U.S. citizens. I hope that if you live in the U.S., you're safe. You're safe. I don't know. You're streaming. Thank you for joining. I stream almost every day. That's my stream schedule. I try to stream almost every day, but I appreciate you stopping in. Welcome. Hi. Tucson said that witness then described hearing 3 shots fired, which ended the conflict. At no point did that person hear anyone identify themselves as law enforcement, according to Tucson. Okay, why is the lawyer doing the LAPD's job? I mean, that's not surprising, but still. Tucson said he did not believe there was any exchange of gunfire between Porter and the agent. Clarity on how the shooting transpired may not come anytime soon. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office is reviewing Porter's killing, though it sometimes takes years for the agency to determine if a deadly use of force constitutes a crime. Although city policies require the LAPD to identify officers in a serious use of force cases, there is nothing that would compel the Department of Homeland Security, the federal agency that includes ICE, to do so. And I think that's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. And this is why ICE needs to be abolished. Since the officer was off duty, there is no body camera footage. None of the building's security cameras captured the shooting either, according to a message from the property management company. So the man claims he's ICE, off duty, isn't wearing a body cam because ICE doesn't wear body cam. And yet he gets to kill someone and gets away with it. That's what I'm kind of reading between the lines on this one. The Times reviewed a video filmed by a neighbor that showed LAPD units responding to the scene after Porter had been shot, lights flashing on their squad cars. One officer can be heard calling out, "Come out or shelter in place." Several residents who lived in units closest to the scene of the shooting said last week they didn't witness the fatal incident, though one woman said several rounds struck her home. And LAPD officials said it was expected to take days before detectives would be able to interview the ICE agent responsible for Porter's death. An LAPD officer who was involved in an off-duty shooting would be compelled to speak with investigators under threat of discipline. But the department has no such leverage over a federal agent. That's fucking insane. That's not acceptable whatsoever. Caleb Mason, a former federal prosecutor who is now a partner with Worksman, Jackson, and Quinn in Los Angeles, said the local investigators are limited in this case and do not have the ability to compel a federal agent to answer questions, nor to grant some kind of immunity. I don't. Is this man's family ever going to get justice? They could convene a grand jury and subpoena the person to come to the grand jury. The person could then invoke their Fifth Amendment rights, Mason said. Houston said the shooting was a microcosm of federal law enforcement under the Trump administration, overstepping boundaries and in many instances using deadly force when it was not required. Other recent instances in which ICE and Border Patrol agents claimed they used force in self-defense have come under withering scrutiny. On Wednesday in Minneapolis, an ICE officer shot and killed a 37-year-old woman. Federal officials said the officer opened fire on her car after she attempted to run over agents in an act of domestic terrorism. Video circulating online showed the woman seemingly attempting to drive away as one masked agent is seen trying to open the vehicle's door while another blocks her path. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey told reporters he had reviewed footage of the incident, which led him to believe the, quote, "the narrative that this was done in self-defense is a garbage narrative." In October, federal officials insisted an ICE agent opened fire in fear for his life after a popular TikTok streamer tried to ram agents attempting to arrest him in South LA. Assault charges against the man, Carlitos Ricardo Parias, were recently dismissed by a judge. Video obtained by the Times last month shows Parias with his hands up at the moment the agent's gun goes off. Both Parias and a deputy U.S. Marshal were injured by the ICE agent's gunfire. Yeah, because ICE, they're not fucking trained. They're not, they're psychos. Psychos. A Time analysis also found nearly a third of all cases involving an alleged assault against a federal officer in Los Angeles the last year ended with prosecutors dropping charges or losing at trial. Matteo has been friends with Porter for nearly 30 years. So the pair grew up in Compton, where ringing in the new year with celebratory fire was common. That's heartbreaking. He said his friend had become interested in guns in recent years and was excited that he'd recently gotten the necessary paperwork under state law by obtaining a fire safety certificate. Within the last couple of years, he was super anxious and excited because he ended up getting his permit, Meteor said. He felt like it was a badge of expression to be able to own a firearm. Porter's mother, Francola Armstrong, said her son meant no harm. He was not a threat. Anyone who comes in contact with my baby has nothing to say but love, she said. That's the mom. Armstrong said she and her son were incredibly close, living together until about a year ago. Relatives said Porter moved to the San Fernando Valley to be closer to his girlfriend. Porter worked a plethora of jobs. Medior said he was a waiter, a tow truck driver, and an aide to students with special needs. He tried to complete Compton Fire Academy and recently got a job at a nearby Home Depot in Northridge. Whatever job he took, his friends said, Porter had an eye toward a better life for his 2 daughters, who are 10 and 20. We had gotten together for games and drinks and stuff, and at the end of the night, we had a serious heart-to-heart about him getting ready to move out here and his priorities. Disney, Tyler, a distant relative, said at a vigil last week. Medior said he and Porter first met at Verbum Day High School, an all-boys Catholic institute in Watts, where they bonded over a shared love of football and basketball. He was a performer. He would always go out the way to make people laugh, Medior said. He was a very, very kind person, gracious, compassionate, loyal, understanding. He was younger than me, so I felt like I had to look out for him because he was my little brother. Tamar Sedri, Medior's partner, said the shooting was especially painful because of everything Porter had overcome in his life. Sedri said Porter's father was heavily involved with Compton's gangs, but his mother worked tirelessly to help her son avoid that lifestyle, only for his life to end in gunfire anyway. That's so fucking sad. That's what is really heartbreaking about all of this. She said, you can try to fly straight and get an apartment and move out of the hood, and you still find yourself in this situation. So spread the news about him, Keith Porter. May he rest in peace. And may he get the justice that he rightfully deserves. So sad. My chair was giving me a hard time. Okay. So I wanted to just make sure that I talk about that story because I think it's really important. Okie dokie. Now, I want to. Kristi Noem has come out and done like a press conference. Wait. I want to find it first. So let's see what she has to say. Let's see what Plastic Fascist has to say.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, and today we're here to talk about an operation that's been going on for several months. In fact, after an incident happened here in New York City that brought us to a point where we recognized that we had to work together in order to bring illegal criminal aliens to justice. Nearly 6 months ago, 2 criminal illegal aliens attacked an off-duty Customs and Border Protection agent and his friend while they were sitting on a rock in a park after hours enjoying the evening together. These 2 criminals came and attempted to rob them, and it ended up where they bravely fought back. This officer defended himself and his friend, but not before being shot in the face and in the arm by one of these criminals. Immediately after, the men and women of the Homeland Security investigations worked with NYPD, leading to the arrest of that gunman in just 2 hours. Within 28 hours, the second assailant was arrested as well, and those individuals have been brought to justice. But those individuals would have never been in this country if they hadn't been allowed in by the Biden administration.
I don't know what she's talking about. And I think it's kind of insane for her to start off with this, considering that ICE literally murdered someone yesterday.
When they ignored our federal laws and allowed them to come in illegally. Now, the officer that was injured doesn't seek public attention. He wishes to remain anonymous, but he had a distinguished career and a legacy of service and continues to do so. But his life was forever altered by this heinous crime. His attackers never should have been in this country, and they've been protected and were protected up until that point by sanctuary city policies. In fact, they had long criminal rap sheets and were released by the Biden administration
I have
and
no idea what
continue
she's
to
talking
be
about.
released by leaders in this city to perpetuate crimes against the citizens that live here. During our investigation, we learned that these scumbags were affiliated with the transnational criminal organization, the notorious Trinitaris gang in New York. We began to target every single last person that is affiliated with them and recognized that they needed to be brought to justice. The American people deserve dignity, they deserve justice, and we deliver both. So we launched Operation Salvo here in New York City. Operation Salvo was a cooperation of the resources of CBP, HSI, ERO, and also the federal prosecutors from the Southern District of New York. The New York County District Attorney's Office also participated in this operation. We've arrested 54 individuals as a part of Operation Salvo since its inception just a few months ago. Those arrested are violent transnational gang members and affiliates associated with Trinitarios who are responsible for weapons trafficking, for human smuggling, for narcotics distribution, and for armed robberies. They had perpetuated previous violent attacks across the city of New York City.
What?
We have already removed.
This is fucking insane that she's doing this.
Not only many of these individuals that we have arrested, but over 60% of them have been returned back to their home countries to face justice for their crimes there as well. These arrests and these removals represent a significant blow to the criminal network that has been terrorizing communities right here in New York City and throughout the United States. And that's our message to this administration, to this city, to the state, and to the United States, is that President Trump and
she's threatening Zoran. Awesome. Great.
his law enforcement officers that are entrusted to protect the American people will every day continue to keep America safe. Operation Salvo is just the beginning of a broader and a much more sustained effort to go after not only transnational criminal organizations and networks, but also illegal criminal aliens throughout the country. We are on offense. The Trump administration is using every single tool that we have to protect the American people. Sanctuary policies, whether they're here in New York City, whether they're in California, Illinois, or Minneapolis, if you are a criminal illegal alien, we are coming to get you. We will arrest you. We will bring justice, and we will also bring safety to the American people. We are warning anyone, if you think you can harm an individual, a citizen of the United States, or a law enforcement officer,
that's funny.
We will find you and bring you to justice.
That's so funny considering that your officer literally killed a U.S. citizen yesterday.
If you lay a finger on one of our officers, we will catch you, we will prosecute you, and you will feel the full
No, we'll just kill you instead, is what she's really saying.
Extent of the law. In every single thing the Trump administration does, we put the American people first. Operation Salvo has proven that by taking 54 dangerous individuals off of our streets and protecting the people who live here in this city. Now, also thanks to President Trump, we have 2.6 million people who have left our country who shouldn't have been here in the first place. They were here illegally, and over 650,000 of them were arrested, detained, and deported back to their home countries.
Without due process.
2 million of them left voluntarily.
By working with our partners, realizing that these
no idea
individuals
what happened. That was
were
weird.
affiliated to the Trinitarios gang. And when we realized that, then we did what CBP and our partners do best. Get at the root cause of the problem.
I cannot believe that she did this. And
these transnational criminal organizations by getting at their networks. And each and every day we would pick off one or two. And with our partners, with ICE, with ERO, with HSI, we used our mapping techniques, looking at individuals with criminal records, arrest warrants, removal orders, and again, picking them off one by one. We could not have done it without them, and it was an amazing success. We looked at businesses, residences, and community hubs that were harboring these individuals. The results speak for themselves. More than 50 arrests as a result of our efforts, all because of the partnership and the work that we did together. It was truly remarkable. and a sign that we will not sit on the sidelines. We will always be there to protect this city. I want to thank, first and foremost, the Secretary again, our Commissioner, our Assistant Commissioner, the Office of Field Operations, our Special Response Team operators, our task force officers, our Border Security Team, our Field Analysis and Intelligence units, under the leadership of George Pasiakos, Mike Firing, Dave Campos, and Carmine Borges, who did an incredible job of protecting the city and making sure that a Saturday night in the park is safe. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm now going to turn it over to ICRO Director Ken Gianallo. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing?
I'm pissed.
My name's Ken Gianallo. I am the Field Office Director for ICE Enforcement Removal Operations, New York City.
What a thick fucking accent.
I first want to thank Secretary Noem for traveling to the city today and for our continued and unwavering support of our brave law enforcement officers. We are here today because of the abject failure of the New York City bail reform laws and sanctuary city policies. The tragic shooting of this heroic CBP officer was entirely preventable and is a direct result of those policies. What makes this case particularly egregious is both of these violent criminals had been in NYPD custody on multiple occasions. However, due to these sanctuary city policies and the politicians that prioritize politics over public safety, these criminal illegal aliens were repeatedly released onto New York City's streets to harm this brave officer. ERO New York City is proud to partner with CBP and HSI in this joint initiative to not only locate and arrest the two criminal aliens responsible for the shooting, but also to identify, locate, and apprehend their Trinitario associates. Ruthless gang members who engage in illicit activity and terrorize law-abiding New Yorkers. Together, we have arrested over 50 criminal aliens, many with felony convictions, including weapons offenses, drug offenses, robbery, assault, rape, sexual abuse, burglary, and larceny. Approximately 30 of those have already been removed from the United States, while the remaining are in ERO custody at this time. Communities with sanctuary policies suffer the most harm from criminal aliens. When local police release dangerous aliens into the community,
they're fucking people. You monsters.
They often reoffend in the same community that they are released in. And
U.S. citizens are more likely to offend than undocumented people. It is an actual stat.
Also, they stay in sanctuary city areas. In this case, the shooter demonstrates he would travel to another sanctuary city jurisdiction, which was in Massachusetts, where he had an outstanding criminal warrant for armed robbery.
I don't know. This guy's giving me liar. This guy's giving me he's uncomfortable because he knows he's fucking lying. That's the vibe I'm getting.
So to further their criminality without fear of consequences or repercussions, they will travel to sanctuary city jurisdictions, basically hiding in plain sight. They provide safe haven for criminal aliens. The lack of cooperation is unprecedented across the law enforcement spectrum, and rather than the city's stated purpose to protect the immigrants in New York and the citizens of New York City, These misguided policies allow criminals to roam freely in our city, in our country, subjecting New Yorkers and all Americans to unnecessary harm, which includes an off-duty CBP officer just trying to enjoy his Saturday evening.
Just like Renee Good was trying to get home yesterday, but was shot in the fucking face by one of your goons. Okay.
In our great city. ICE will continue to uphold the mission to protect the city's residents by holding alien offenders accountable. New Yorkers should not have to worry about violent criminals roaming their neighborhoods because the local systems failed them. We always stand ready to work with our local law enforcement partners without condition and sincerely look forward to reestablishing mutually beneficial path forward for the safety of all New Yorkers to ensure preventable tragedies like this never have to occur again. Thank you. I will now introduce you to the Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security Investigations for New York, Mr. Ricky Patel.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Ken. Good morning. As you just heard, my name is Ricky Patel. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, here in New York City. It is an honor to join my esteemed colleagues today to say, when our partners call, we answer. No hesitation, no delay. That's the commitment HSI New York brings to every threat against our law enforcement family and to our great city. From the very first moments following the July shooting of our CBP partner, HSI agents alongside local, state, and federal counterparts worked relentlessly, day and night, to track those responsible. HSI personnel, in coordination with our local partners, apprehended the accused gunman within 2 hours of the shooting. We swiftly identified his alleged accomplice, whom we arrested shortly thereafter. In the days, weeks, and months that followed, together with law enforcement, we pursued every known associate of this violent migrant gang crew. We pored over every piece of evidence, followed every lead, and made it clear an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. Our unity is our strength, and we will never let criminals divide us. Our investigation led to the capture of individuals tied to violent transnational gangs, including associates of the Trinitarios gang that are responsible for weapons trafficking, human smuggling, narcotics distribution, armed robberies, and repeated violent attacks across the Big Apple. Their arrests deliver a major blow to criminal networks that have preyed on our New York City neighborhoods for far too long. This was only possible because of the unwielding and unwavering collaboration between DHS partners and those from the Southern District of New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, and the law enforcement partners from all levels. Investigative methods and interviews were conducted. We identified additional conspirators and expanded our reach. I am proud to say that the main targets and dozens of their associates have been taken off our streets. But our work isn't finished. We will continue to leverage every resource, whether it's local, state, or federal, to root out anyone connected to this conspiracy and this violent gang. Leadership and teamwork remain the backbone of our success. HSI's mission is clear: protect public safety and national security by investigating and arresting the most dangerous criminal elements from our communities. Every day, we use our broad authorities to enforce hundreds of federal laws, targeting transnational criminal organizations from every angle. We will not rest. We will not back down. HSI New York will continue to disrupt and dismantle criminal networks, ensuring our city and our country remain safe. Thank you, and I now turn it back over to Secretary Noem.
Well, thank you, Ricky and Frank and Ken, for all of your hard work that you do every day here in New York City, but also for the rest of our country. With that, we'll open it up to any questions that you may have.
They did this entire press conference, but refused to make any statements and was just waiting for the media. That's so stupid.
Or criminal convictions. And I'm wondering, ICE's own data in New York City shows that over the last year, between January and October, 70% of the arrests that ICE did in New York City had no criminal convictions or pending charges. Should New Yorkers expect that trend to change? That's higher than the nationwide average.
If you look across the nationwide average, we have 70% of the individuals that we've arrested and detained have criminal convictions or charges against them.
No, they fucking don't. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. They just want you to believe that. That's not true.
Or other. We're continuing to do our work to bring those criminal illegal aliens to justice. And ICE will continue to get up every day and do what they can to protect New York City. I can have Frank or Ken speak to if you know how many criminal convictions of the 54 had previous to this arrest that they had. I don't know if you have those data points with you. We can get those for you, though. Exactly. The vast majority of them, though, have criminal charges against them or convictions against them as well. Yes.
Four people were they all part of the Trinidad list? And what's their immigration status?
Again, loosely affiliated to the Trinitarios. Want to make that clear. Through connections by
What exactly does that mean? Loosely.
connections that we made by speaking to them, understanding who they were, where they were operating out of, and contacts that they had on their phones.
So they're not actually part of the gang. I must have missed that. So we're holding a press conference for people that know the Trinitarios, but aren't in the gang. What a waste of fucking money. Jesus Christ.
Immigration status, all illegals.
So this loosely connected mean they just knew someone who was in the gang? They were not members? But
It varies. It varies the spectrum from speaking to individuals associated with the gang to just having conversations.
What? Wait. Speaking to some, having conversations are the same fucking thing. So if I'm undocumented and I just so happen to speak with someone in a gang, that means I'm loosely affiliated. What if that person was my barber? What if that person was my Uber driver? What the actual fuck is this bullshit? This is fucking insane. These people are so incompetent. Oh my God.
In October, we saw mass protests and armored vehicles rolling down Canal Street. How do we ensure that we don't see another situation like what happened yesterday here in Manhattan?
What I would encourage everyone to do, and especially your elected officials, is to bring everybody together to talk about partnerships and start working with ICE and start working.
Bitch, they shot someone. They fucking murdered someone yesterday, and then they murdered someone on New Year's Eve. You really think we're gonna fucking allow that? No.
With CBP as we bring criminals to justice, and many times
you're the
policies
criminal.
And the
You're the
coming out
fucking
of elected
criminal.
officials has divided people and pitted them against each other. Our job every day, and what President Trump promised to do, was to protect every single American, no matter where they lived in this country. That he was going to make sure that we weren't going to have more victims in this country. And we are going to continue to do that.
More victims in their country. Meanwhile, there's already 2 American citizens that are dead, and it's the 8th day of 2026 because of ICE? Huh.
Each and every day. And I'd encourage the leaders in this city and your governor and in other cities and states across this country to work with us rather than opposing us so that we can continue to make our streets safer. Yes, right here. Hi.
This is not the only example that you bring up today of officers being attacked by alleged gang members in New York City. We also had those officers who were attacked in Times Square back in May. With these examples, has Ma'am Diane and his administration offered to cooperate when it comes to getting criminal gang members off the street? Because we know he is not a fan of ICE, but when it comes to criminal gangs, is there any kind of leeway that has been given that?
Yeah, we're hoping the mayor will work with us to get these criminal elements and especially gang members and terrorist organizations out of New York City. I know he and the president had a productive conversation. Our communication at the Department of Homeland Security has not been productive with the mayor's office or with NYPD, but we want to continue those conversations so we can work together.
Yes. Director Russo spoke about how this operation happened discreetly under the cover of darkness, and that's how it should be, which is in contrast to what happened in Minneapolis yesterday. You said
what do you mean in contrast?
That was very, if not very much not.
Because of the protesters and the violent criminals that were attacking our law enforcement. If you remember that.
Feeling a little testy. I wonder why.
Operation. What happened was our officers were out trying to get a car stuck out of the snow when they were surrounded and assaulted and blocked in by protesters that were inciting.
The officer was following his training.
He did follow his training because of an individual that was
point blank into a driver's window. Is that part of the training? How is that self-defense?
This is an experienced officer who followed his training, and we will continue to let the investigation unfold into the individual and continue to follow the procedures and policies that happen in these use of force cases. But let's remember the events that surrounded what happened yesterday on that tragic situation was that these individuals had followed our officers all day, had harassed them, had locked them in. They were impeding our law enforcement operations, which is against the law. And when they demanded and commanded her to get out of her vehicle several times, she did not. So we'll continue to
she should get shot in the face,
process to unfold,
is what you're saying.
and recognize that these law enforcement officers every single day put their lives on the line. They go out and do their jobs.
Fuck off.
This was an act of domestic terrorism.
No, it wasn't. You fucking bitch. I hate her.
And yet now you're saying
these policies and procedures that follow a use of force situation like this are continuing to be put in place. So
I'm glad she's being pressed because this is fucking bullshit. She called this woman a domestic terrorist. And she's like, yeah, She should be shot in the face because she was impeding. Bitch, she wasn't. She wasn't even part of the fucking protest.
Standard operating procedure after every use of force situation is that we follow these procedures and protocols. This situation is no different. Right there. No, this young lady right beside you. I'll come to you next.
Thank you so much. Should we expect a surge of agents in New York City and so when?
I would say that President Trump and his administration are focused on protecting people. So we will never telegraph exactly the numbers and operations that we have and where we will be focused on. But I think that when you see violent criminals that are taking advantage of American citizens and putting their lives in jeopardy, our law enforcement officers at DHS will always show up. Yes. I'll come back. I'll come back. Go ahead.
The officer involved in the shooting yesterday, has he been suspended or is he still in the field?
The officer went to the hospital. He was hit by the vehicle. Went to the hospital and received treatment. Was released and is spending time with his family now. Yes, sir.
That doesn't answer the question. That does not answer the question if he was suspended or not.
Yesterday you said the surge there would continue. Like you directly say whether we expect an ICE surge or civil deportation enforcement. Can you explain what a surge is?
I won't describe in detail our law enforcement operations that we have. This just puts our officers' lives in jeopardy, but they will be there enforcing the laws of this country and upholding the public safety needs that have to happen when it comes to enforcing federal law. We've got thousands of officers there, and I'm not opposed to sending more if necessary to keep people safe.
Can you talk a little bit about the experience of the officer and some of his background? How much training did he have? How much training in these types of situations did he have, even if he's from the region?
Yeah, I'm not going to get specific to this officer, but he's an experienced officer that has served a number of years, and we recognize that he acted according to his training, and we have expected all the policies and procedures of review will be exactly that he acted appropriately to protect his life and the life of his colleagues and fellow law enforcement officers that were there and people that were surrounding him.
Yes. I'd like to get your reaction on some of the rhetoric here in New York City. Mayor Zohran Mamdani responded to the shooting yesterday, saying that this is only the latest horror in a year full of cruelty. He called it an attack on us all, and New York stands with immigrants today and every day. Also, council members last night at protest called this fascism. The New York City public advocate, Jumaane Williams, said that your administration is, quote, doing the devil's work, and he asked New York City to stand up and show up, quote, it's going to be difficult and there are going to be casualties. And the last comment that was made last night at the protest was from New York State Representative Alex Boros, also a Democrat, quote, not only was the ICE agent's hand on the gun, but Secretary Noem's hand was on the gun, President Trump's hand was on the gun. What is your response to New York Democratic leaders, those particular comments, and protesters that are outside?
I would say those comments are why we're standing where we are today. That kind of language and that kind of provocative talk, inciting people to take action and perpetuate violence in some cases, is unacceptable, especially elected leaders. We have a responsibility to state the facts, to go out and enforce the law. Your mayor just said in that statement that he was going to stand with illegal people who broke in our law before he's going to put New York City citizens first. His job and why he was elected was to protect the people who live here, that had the opportunity to vote for him and have the opportunity to live in this city. They pay their taxes, they go to work every day, and instead the mayor in that statement chose to stand with illegals instead of those individuals who just want the chance to raise their families in New York City and have a part of the American dream. Yes.
The head of the state investigation agency said that they should cut out of the investigation into the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Can you explain that reversal?
I'd like to know where they've been and why they're not on the streets investigating all of these people that are harassing and inciting violence on law enforcement officers right now. They're allowing the situation.
I will continue to say this. I will pop fucking champagne when she is put in the fucking Hague. I will pop champagne when fascist plastic is put in the fucking Hague.
To be volatile, they're not doing their work. They haven't for years, and maybe they should get to work a little bit on the unprecedented fraud that we've seen in Minnesota and in Minneapolis by people that stole from American citizens and diverted funds away from vulnerable people and programs and services that they needed and put it into their own pockets. Minnesota is a train wreck. It is corrupt, and it was under the leadership of Governor Walz and this mayor that they allowed it to happen, and they let criminals and illegals and people abuse programs and steal the money, and now they're allowing violence to go forward on the streets as well.
County sheriffs, the federal authorities, what they want.
I won't put a blanket statement out like those other individuals will. What I would say is I welcome them to come and help us. Come help us make sure that the streets are safe, that laws are enforced. And
you're not even following the law.
Citizens come first. Yes, sir. They have not been cut out. They don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation.
Okay, so that's something that's really important. So Minnesota police have said like they've been cut out from this investigation, and she's like they don't have jurisdiction. That's not true. It was in their fucking city. They have jurisdiction. The fuck? ICE? And at the same time, it doesn't fucking matter. You do a crime, you murder someone in someone's city, they have jurisdiction. It's
yes,
like they just are going, this is Israel shit. They're going to literally do everything they can to make sure that this motherfucker, his name's never out, he's not going to get prosecuted. They are doing Israel shit. I swear to God.
That the officer was hit
anytime
by
you take something,
it is in direct contradiction to what they are seeing and watching in the multiple angles that have been released in the last 24 hours.
This vehicle was used to hit this officer. It was used as a weapon, and the officer feels as though his life was in jeopardy. It was used to perpetuate a violent act.
3 times, bitch. He shot her 3 times.
Took action to protect himself and to protect his fellow law enforcement officers. So we'll let this continue to go forward and follow the same policies and procedures that every use of force situation does. But we've had almost over 100 times that these vehicles have been used to ram law enforcement officers and to do damage and to harm them. When you take an action and use a weapon to harm someone and to incite violence against them and try to cause them injury or death, then it needs to be labeled exactly what it was.
enforcing this instance was commensurate with the actions of that vehicle and the driver?
I would say that when these individuals use their vehicles to try to ram our law enforcement and put their lives in jeopardy, that law enforcement officer has to make a decision to protect his life and the individuals around him as well.
Everyone can kill.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
You make a comment yesterday that we should wait for an investigation before determining, as you have, that in this incident it was self-defense and that he felt that his life was dangerous.
I didn't see those comments, but from what I understand, he also put out a statement later as well. So I'll let Tom speak to that. But all of us are on the same page in the fact that this law enforcement officer followed his training and that he defended and acted in behalf of his life and those around him. Yes.
Two quick questions. First, you said these protesters have been following the ICE agents. Do you have a little bit more of a timeline and can share with us some of those other initial encounters prior to the fatal shooting? And then secondly, can you speak to the closure of the ICE office?
Also, it doesn't matter if they're being followed. That has nothing to do with it. They can be followed. We pay their fucking tax. We pay their fucking bills. We're the ones giving the money. So they can be followed. They're fucking fine.
Writers by Mondani.
There will be more details coming out as this goes forward in the coming days. And I'll talk more about that closure in the future. Yep.
So can you say how many times a day? They have been threatened, how many other times?
It had been ongoing throughout the day. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Whatever happened
The shooting literally happened at 8:30 in the fucking morning. So what do you mean? 8:30 in the morning, bitch. Like, your lies will forever fall through because you can never, ever say the truth. You are a terrible fucking person. I despise her.
Minneapolis, a mother of 3, is dead, American citizen. Do you have a message for her family today?
Yes, absolutely. And I reiterated this yesterday when I had my press conference in Minneapolis. I asked everybody not to just pray for the officer, but also pray for the deceased family and her loved ones as well. It was a tragic situation that I hope we never see happen again. That's why I'm encouraging all elected leaders to work together so that we can be cooperative and dangerous criminals off of our streets.
You go in with a lot of publicity about these operations. Do you feel like that needs to be revisited so that maybe you go in a little more covertly, or do you need to change the approach at all?
I would say we have all different kinds of law enforcement operations ongoing with the department at all times. We don't telegraph what they are, the details or specifics, or where we're going to be operating. I would say that there's different tactics utilized for what's appropriate for the situation and the criminal activity we see in the city. Last question?
Do you know the details of Renee Good's harassment of ICE officers early in the day? Were any of those details shared with you? Because apparently it wasn't just that one incident, it was earlier in the day as well.
Yes, it was, and that will be a part of some of the details that we will be sharing in the future. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate you focusing on this operation, the 54 criminals that we have gotten off the streets because of the work of this team behind me. We thank all of them for their service and recognize that, again, I'll remind you, tomorrow is Law Enforcement Day. Please take the time to thank a law enforcement officer who's out there keeping us and our families safe. Have a wonderful day.
I really despise her. Oh my god, Olaf. He's being a little roly-poly-oly. Okay. Let's see what Democracy Now! Has to say.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Amin Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world. In Minneapolis, thousands gathered for a candlelight vigil Wednesday evening to mourn the death of 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, a mother of 3 who was fatally shot hours earlier by an ICE agent at near point-blank range. Video of the shooting shows masked ICE agents approaching her vehicle, screaming for her to get out of the effing car, using profanity, and attempting to force open her driver's side door. As Good attempts to drive past the officers, a masked agent pulls his firearm and fires 3 rounds at Good. The shooting comes after the Trump administration deployed over 2,000 ICE agents to Minnesota.
Trump administration officials claim the agent acted in self-defense, but local officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, rejected that claim. This is Mayor Fry speaking Wednesday.
We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. They are not here to cause safety in the city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets, and in this case, quite literally killing people. They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
According to press accounts, Renee Nicole Good was shot shortly after she dropped her 6-year-old son at school. She was killed less than a mile from the site of George Floyd's murder in 2020 by a Minneapolis police officer, a killing that sparked protests internationally under the banner Black Lives Matter. Democratic lawmakers have accused President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem of spreading misinformation about the shooting.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem accused Good of weaponizing her vehicle to commit a, quote, act of domestic terrorism, unquote. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump claimed Good, quote, violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer. Trump went on to say, quote, it's hard to believe he's alive, but is now recovering in the hospital, unquote. Video from the scene shows the ICE agent walking away after shooting with no signs of injury. However, video from the aftermath shows outraged Minneapolis residents, including a doctor, screaming at the agents to let them help Renee after her crash into a parked vehicle after the shooting.
I don't check a pulse. I'm in position.
I don't know why my bit rate is so low. I made sure everything was off. That one's connected. Why it's not? It normally picks up by now. No. Okay. I get it. No, you don't. Like, he's literally a doctor right there. That's exciting. I have no idea. This, you would think. I don't know why this is not getting better. Because I'm trying to see. Oh, he's so hairy on my face. I'm trying to see why I can't get anything. And why? Did I leave and come back? Ow, Olaf, stop your nails. Stop. Olaf, stop. I have to cut his nails. Okay. I don't know why this is just not. Because normally it like bounces back and it's not bouncing back right now. Okay, let me turn it off and turn it back on. Like a reset. Let's see how that works.